Hello, and welcome to another bonus. It's probably overdue, but I've lost all track of time. I am pointed in the right direction now, and I think I'm on the track to normality. Anyway, gameplay this week is Rise of the Tomb Raider on the Xbox One. And I've got to say, I'm rather fond of it. I was always I never liked the Tomb Raider series. I was never a big fan of the original ones. So when the 2013 remake came around, I was dubious. But it seemed to be a reimagining of the classic formula with the blend of Uncharted stuff, and I played it through. In fact, there's a Let's Play on this channel, I think. And I thought it was okay. It's a game that grows on you. One thing that impresses me about this game is how well it's designed. Everything is very, very intuitive, and I love that. You know, it's the stuff that you wouldn't notice unless you were looking for it. The way the game shapes your experience, and how everything just sort of knits together. As far as interactivity design is concerned, Crystal Dynamics have done a very, very good job with these games. What is true is that the 2013 Tomb Raider had a bit of an over-reliance on QuickTime events, in the first part of the game at least. By the middle of the game, though, the QuickTime events were greatly abated, and it turned into this really nice blend of level traversal with combat, with, you know, just looking around, looking for stuff. And yeah, overall, I actually quite liked it. For me, one of the key identifying features of a good game is when you enjoy it more the second time through. Because most games, you know, I can play any game once, and I normally don't feel too inspired to play it again. In the case of Tomb Raider, I played it on the 360 first, and then I played it on the Xbox One after that. I think I picked it up cheap, it was like £7 or something, and I played it then again, with, you know, fancier graphics and all that, although to be honest it wasn't that different. And yeah, I actually enjoyed it more the second time through, because all of the little touches, all of the little interaction decisions, you notice them more, and I was kind of, knowing what to do, where to go, that sort of thing, it allowed me to enjoy the experience a little bit more. It was actually, I really enjoyed it. And Rise of the Tomb Raider, builds on that. I haven't finished it yet. This game plays from about the halfway point, I think. But it's very, very similar to the first one. Just, you know, a new setting, new story. It's basically more of the same, which is a really good thing. So anyway, I thoroughly recommend it, although probably not worth buying an Xbox One for. But in a year or so, whenever the exclusivity lapses, whenever it comes to your platform of choice, whether it's the PlayStation 4 or the PC, and, you know, if the price is right, then I can thoroughly recommend it, because, I can respect these games. I'm not a big fan of Lara Croft as a character. Old Lara Croft was a bit two-dimensional, and new Lara Croft is she's better, but she's still a little bit, I can do this. That sort of stuff. You know, I don't know. The writing's okay. The one thing I hate about Lara Croft is the fact that she's a rich girl who goes off gallivanting, raiding tombs, and not once does the game acknowledge that this might not be a good thing to do. It's like, Lara, you are literally stealing other people's culture, trampling across with all your British privilege like it's the colonial days. You can't do that. But no, the game never acknowledges that, and, you know, also the fact that she kills hundreds of people, and nobody bats an eyelid. Anyway, the game's not really about Lara, it's about collecting things and ticking off boxes and unlocking upgrades, and for that, it's really good. Anyway, let's answer some of your questions. Watermelon says, something I've wondered is, how is your financial state in the 3 months where you didn't upload at all, if I may ask? My finances are relatively stable. Couple of things. I've got a decent amount of savings to act as a buffer. So even if I had no income for a few months, I'd be fine. You know, I'd be circling the drain, but I'd be fine. Second of all, I've got a fairly decent library of videos on my main channel, and a lot of them attract quite a few views. So even in months where I don't upload, I'm still churning over. And it's not a spectacular income when I don't upload, but it's enough to cover my basic level of, you know, outgoings. It covers my mortgage, my bills, and, you know, groceries. Maybe that's about it, but it's survival. So given that I've got a buffer, and given that over the year, whilst I'm uploading, it all averages out at something which resembles an actual income, I do okay. Obviously, YouTube revenue is fragile, and if the balance were to shift too far to the lean, then I might have to think about, other sources of income, either getting a job or, cap in hand, going for Patreon bucks. Either is an option, I suppose. I think probably more of you would prefer I went the crowdfunding route, so it's something I might consider. But yeah, I mean, my core strategy for YouTube is developing content that not only gets views when it's uploaded, but also continues to get views. The long tail I like, because it means I can basically do nothing and it brings in revenue for me. So videos that get a lot of views long term are appealing to me. So some of the videos I've got perform pretty well. I mean, the Brief History of Graphics, that turns over, a fair amount each month. Each of the Iconic Arms episodes tends to do pretty well. And, I mean, if all else fails, I've got a massive library of weapon guides. Now, they are variable. Most of them get only a couple of thousand views a month. Some of them, like the most popular, scale up to about 3, 4, 5,000 views a month. Which, considering there are hundreds of them, isn't too bad. But on an individual level, the weapon guides tend to underperform when compared to my better stuff. To put things into perspective, my channel is 80% weapon guides by uploads. So the vast majority of my videos are weapon guides, and yet they only account for 40% of my views. So they perform about half as well long term when compared to my other videos. Furthermore, that 80% of my channel, which gets 40% of the views, only provides me with 30% of my overall revenue, month to month. So not only do they underperform in terms of views, the revenue for those videos is under par as well. So anyway, that's my key content strategy, is to develop content which gets decent view counts over a long period of time. Not really too bothered about the initial spike, particularly not if it drops off. And with every video I do, the larger my library of videos becomes, and the more comfortable I'll be with my higher baseline views. Anyway, that's my content strategy. It's either that or clickbait. Remix Etho says, how are you feeling about this holiday season, ahoy? So many great titles coming out, and after Christmas, even more. There have been a few. What have I been playing? I've been playing Fallout 4. A lot of Fallout 4. It's kind of been my go-to. And obviously Rise of the Tomb Raider, that's kind of my next game to complete. What else? There was Call of Duty Black Ops 3. I haven't touched the multiplayer for that yet. Haven't touched it. About halfway through the campaign, or maybe a third of the way through the campaign. But I've just got too many other games in my backlog. I've got them on my shelf here. What have I got? I've got Dying Light. I've got Gears of War Ultimate Edition. Divinity, Original Sin, Enhanced Edition. I got, Tearaway Unfolded for the PS4. I got that cheap. Wonderful 101. Still not touched that yet. And Bayonetta 2, again for the Wii U. I need to dust off the Wii U, and probably next bonus I'll get something along those lines. I don't know, I'll pick something. I don't know what I'm excited for next. There's a few games coming at the start of next year. XCOM 2. I like the XCOM games. I don't play them enough though. I need to play more of the remake of XCOM. But yeah, XCOM 2 might be alright. What else? Street Fighter 5, PlayStation 4 exclusive, I think. Might be on PC as well, I forget. I like fighting games, but I'm terrible at them. So, I buy them, I'll play the single player, and then I'll think, oh, right, maybe I'll try the multiplayer. And then, after a couple of matches, I'll just think, do you know what? Yeah, I'll just put it back in its box, and then I'll put it on the shelf, and then I'll think about it once in a while. Far Cry Primal. That's coming up. I don't know how I feel about that. Honestly, I'm dubious. It's Ubisoft, isn't it? And it's a yearly release from Ubisoft, so I don't know. Might be alright. Oh, apparently The Division. Tom Clancy's The Division, that's coming. I do rather think that will be disappointing compared to the sort of the pre-release stuff we saw years ago now. It was 2013 when it was first announced. And since then, we haven't really seen any gameplay. We haven't really... I don't know. I'm very dubious about that game. I have sincere doubts that they'll be able to meet expectations. Oh, Dark Souls 3, that's coming. I never got into the Souls games. I need to sit down, get a strategy guide, and just work my way through them. One day I will. They can't be that hard. Also in March, Uncharted 4. Should be a nice looking game, given that it's a PS4 exclusive. And, you know, Naughty Dog have a pretty good track record, so it should be alright. It should be up to the standard of the previous Uncharted, at least. So I suppose there's a steady trickle. I'm not really looking forward to anything in particular, though, I suppose. I don't know. I'll take them as they come, see how they fare, and see how the response is, and if there's anything that tickles my fancy, I might very well pick it up. In the meantime, though, I'm just going to work through my backlog. Max1 Manus says, do you like simulators? Arma 3, Euro Truck, etc.? Or do you prefer more unrealistic games? I like both, to be honest. I mean, I don't have any problem with games that are unrealistic. Whether they're abstract, silly, or whatever, yeah, I can dig them. But yeah, I don't shy away from simulators either. I think the key thing for me is just really how the game plays. Because some simulators are really easy to pick up and really, you know, fun. Something that comes to mind, Spin Tires, which is a mud-based simulator. It's actually quite realistic in terms, well, I don't know, I've never driven through a Russian forest in a Soviet truck. But I'm willing to believe that driving through heavy mud is a similar experience. And there's a simple joy, I think, to driving through mud. The game doesn't demand much of you. It doesn't chide you for failure. It just, it gives you a muddy forest and says, hey, have some trucks. Go and drive. Get some wood if you like. And I like that. I really like sort of more open-ended simulators. I think the only time where I might not like simulators so much is where they become punishing to play. Where they are so obtuse, so complex, that even sort of, just messing around for fun is impossible. Thankfully, most simulators are reasonably easy to sort of have a go with. Even sort of serious flight sims like DCS. I don't know if that is the most serious flight sim, but it's, as far as I'm concerned, it seems like a fairly authentic recreation of some planes. But I like that. I'm not the best pilot. I'm not rated. I don't have any sort of licenses. But show me where the throttle is and the joystick and how to disengage the brakes, and I can take off, and then I can fly, and I'll probably end up crashing, and I'll probably never do a successful landing. At least not where I intend to land. But, I can have fun. Revolutions 8D says, what's going to happen to your Retro Ahoy channel now that you're uploading that content to your main channel? It's dead, Jim. Yeah, Retro Ahoy is basically, it's been rolled into my main channel. The success of the Half-Life video, that showed me that Retro Ahoy can live perfectly happily on my main channel. Once upon a time, my channel was pure Call of Duty. And, well, that's why I started a new channel, because I didn't want all of these COD kids saying, oh, watch this, I don't want to watch this. So I thought, well, fine, I'll compartmentalize and, get a new channel for it. I suppose maybe the goal then was to grow a separate channel. But managing multiple channels like that doesn't make sense, because it just dilutes your growth. I mean, I'm one person, and admittedly, yeah, all right, I've got this channel. But this channel's for my unscripted, sort of, off-the-cuff content, my less professional stuff, my more personal stuff. But my main Ahoy channel, that's where my productions go. If it's video games, and it's a production, that's where it goes. Joel Ranger says, I would love to know your opinion on Fallout 4. Fallout 4, I've been playing this quite a lot. While the baby sleeps, I've been catching 2 or 3 hour chunks of it. And I don't know. I've been enjoying it. I think I'm about level 41 or something, so I've got a sizable amount of time invested into it. I've finished the main plot line. And I don't know, now that I've finished the main plot line, the game kind of feels a little bit hollow. There's still a few quests for me to sort of clean up, but I don't know. I'm just sick of doing like the Radiant quests, the generated quests, like go here, get this, go here, kill these people, return to Preston Garvey, that sort of thing. And I don't know, I liked the game, but part of me feels as though I didn't like it as much as I liked Fallout 3 or New Vegas. I feel as though they were better games. Having said that, I mean, I am grateful for some of the technical enhancements in Fallout 4. Do you know, its performance has been panned, but I've got to say, I think it's a little bit smoother on console than the last-gen games were. I mean, it's locked at 30 frames a second, which, you know, makes me a turbo peasant. But I think people forget how janky Fallout 3 was on release. I love the slow-motion VATs. I think that's very, very cool. I think the voiced protagonists is a neat idea, but they squandered it with the dialogue choices. The dialogue isn't very good at all. There's no choice. I don't want to spoil any of the main storyline quests or anything like that, but a lot of the time, whilst doing quests, I felt as though I was being railroaded to conduct certain actions. You know, like I was never really sort of given choices at critical moments. There were a couple of pivotal points. You know, you can decide which faction to side with, but beyond that, you couldn't really do much else. You couldn't have like a critical betrayal on one faction's quest and then revert to another faction. You just didn't really have any control. It's like you make a decision and then you've got to ride it out through to the end of the game, and that was disappointing. I felt disempowered, which in a Bethesda game, you know, where you're king of everything, is slightly disappointing. So anyway, I liked Fallout 4. I've spent a lot of time with it. But something about it rings a little bit hollow. I think Bethesda need to work on their RPG elements a little bit more to give us satisfying choices. I think it would be nice if Obsidian had another go. You know, like a New Vegas, but not New Vegas, like a New Vegas. But maybe they will, That would be interesting. Of course, there are things I don't like about the Obsidian games. New Vegas was poorly realised in places, and it was buggier than Fallout 3, which is an accomplishment in itself. But it was much more ambitious from a role-playing perspective. Oh, and the firearms, the way they handled firearms was much better. But yeah, I mean, overall, I've got my money's worth, so I can't feel too bad. But part of me feels like they need to buck their ideas up at Bethesda if they want to maintain their level of success for Fallout 5. Or Skyrim 2. BitBit says, start a new channel called Clickbait Ahoy and roll in that YouTube money. Do you know, I actually considered something similar to this. I thought about doing like an evil version of me and calling it Evil Ahoy or something, and then just doing like a really sort of lame, listified version of my videos. Like, so for Nuclear Fruit, I'd probably call it like World's Top 10 Cold War Games or something, I don't know. And then just do an unscripted, rambling rundown of the top 10 Cold War-based games. Number 10, it's Missile Command. That sort of thing. And then, you know, put like a brightly coloured thumbnail on it. And the sad thing is, I bet I could probably get a channel like that to have more subscribers than my main one. Which is, I don't know. That's clickbait for you. 297 Fearsy says, could a chainsaw-wielding man easily commit mass murder at a local school or university? Well, there's only one way to find out. Beef Ingot says, the ending of The Order was so disappointing. It was essentially a non-ending where the main character made a decision that no one in their position would make simply to finish the story. It looked like they were rushed for time and cut out half the story. Yes, it was a terrible ending. I'm not going to spoil any details, but there's a certain order of things. When it comes to telling a satisfying story, think of an action film. Specifically, think of the last third of an action film. This is the segment with the final battle. There's a checklist of things that have to be done. First of all, you have to prepare for the final battle. Easy enough. Then, you have to kill a bunch of henchmen, right? And then, in ascending order of power, you kill the bad guys. So all of the sort of secondary bad guys that we've seen during the film, they get killed in ascending order of importance. And then it's time to face the big bad. There's a bit of a pause here. We take a breather, we reload our infinite magazine, and then, boom, in final battle. Defeat the big bad, inevitably, because of course you can't have a sad ending in a game like this. And then, oh no, you thought he was dead, but he came back? But then you kill him in a novel way. That's, you know, maybe foreshadowed right at the start of the film or something. and then you say something witty, and then that's it. That's the end of the big bad. Then there's a debrief, then you get the girl, then you ride off into the sunset. That is the procession of things. That is how action films work. Alright, and that's how action games should work, at least in the last portion. Unfortunately, it does not work that way. You prepare for the final battle, you kill a bunch of henchmen, then you face up against his lieutenant, or his lieutenant, I should say. And then you kill his lieutenant, and oh, then the credits roll! And all the while you're thinking, what about the big bad? When do I get to kill the big bad? What about the girl? Don't I get to go with the girl? I don't even get to ride off into the sunset? This is an outrage! It broke the fundamental law of action films, and that's a law, quite frankly, that you do not break. You know, there's certain rules. You know, if you kill someone in a novel way, you have to make a witty comment. Anyway, it's a shame, because the game was otherwise pretty nice. Alright, okay, admittedly, the gameplay was just ripped straight from Gears of War. It was a pretty bog-standard cover shooter. Okay, so it wasn't spectacular in the gameplay department, but the setting was amazing. Kind of a steampunk, sort of an alternate history sort of thing going on. That was brilliant. And the graphics, spectacular. And the firearms, I loved the firearms. It's rare that you see sort of industrial era weapons. You had stuff like the Mauser C96, the Borchardt, there's a Lewis LMG repurposed as a thermite gun. They're all made up weapons, but they're based on real sort of turn of the century ones. And it was, yeah, the weapons are really nice. And, you know, the shooting was fine. The game was rather fond of taking away interactivity from you, which is disappointing, but, oh, it could have been great, but, well, it wasn't. I shall leave things here for now, but I will be back soon. I am going to promise you another bonus before Christmas. Let's say 2 weeks from now. I shall do one on the 23rd, or maybe the day before. As for main videos, I promise nothing. But I am cooking something. I'm still working on the Doom video, but it's turned out to be rather longer than I expected. Current script length is about 35 minutes, and it's not showing signs of stopping. There's an entire section I would like to write, so it might end up being 40 minutes. This is going to be a pretty in-depth video on Doom. Because Doom is a really, really important game. It's an important game to me, and it's an important game in terms of overall influence. So I'd hate to shortchange it, you know? So I want to do a definitive Doom Retro Ahoy episode. One that covers, you know, kind of all of its aspects and is a thorough exploration of its execution and its influence. That's actually one of the reasons I chose to do this series on FPS, the classic FPS games. Not just because of their importance on a grander scale, but because of their significance to me. I came of age at the same time as FPS came of age. They are the defining games of my adolescence. I mean, what? I was born in 1982, so in 1992, when Wolfenstein 3D came out, I would have been 10 years old. When Doom came out, I would have been 11. When Quake came out, I would have been 14. When Half-Life came out, I would have been 16. So I really grew up with these games. And Retro Ahoy is, well, it's a love letter to them. So anyway, yes, this Doom video, it's cooking, it's still cooking. The script is pretty much finished, so I'm about to shift into editing and production. And I would love to be able to promise this before Christmas. That's kind of my goal. But I have an 8-week-old baby, and I'm only just starting to get my stuff together. So I'm just taking it day by day. I'm doing as much as I can. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.